the ordinary people, the spiritual decline yielded darkness. Power struggles and dissension arose among the leaders of the Brotherhood, who, afraid of losing their power, used science to develop weapons, because verbal agreement was no longer possible. At first, weapons were developed for defense and later used for aggression. Governments began to spy on each other, and the first secret service agencies were founded to forestall opponents. This tradition is alive today. The secret services not only serve government leaders, but also the powers of corruption. Thus, Atlantis, after many declining cycles, finally reached its downfall. At the peak of one of these quarrels for absolute power, the ultimate weapon, a gravitation bomb, was produced in order to destroy the cities of the now fighting elite priests. The Indian national epic, the Mahabharata, is widely known. It tells of wars. For example, in the 5th book of the Mahabharata, it tells of a god who was called Gurkha. And this Gurkha has thrown a single lightning bolt onto the threesome city. Then it was described in detail how the elephants stumbled around in circles, their skin hanging off them. They roared, people screamed, birds fell out of the sky, warriors tore off their armor and jumped into the water. It is clearly said that everything was surrounded by a deadly breeze, and even the unborn children in the womb died. And this is a case out of Indian mythology where definitely a bomb had been dropped, because all the symptoms have been described so precisely. Up to the Great Blow, several large cities ruled. One of them was Urd on the plain of the Taklamakan Desert between Tibet and China. Poseidon, the metropolis, now lie on the bottom of the ocean. The golden cities on the banks of Lake Titicaca, the Empire of Tula in the far north, as well as many other mysterious and lost cities, which we now know from our legends date from this time. Within 30,000 years, these cities waged destruction on each other until the final atomic war. At that time, the original sound, Urton, was created, and the gravitational web of the magnetic pole of the Earth was suddenly dislocated. A pole shift followed, the continental plates were torn apart, and floods washed most cities of this high civilization away.
Da gibt es eine sehr, sehr brisante Geschichte, die eigentlich niemand kennt.
There is a story that nobody really knows. As everyone knows, uranium has a specific nuclear value, uranium-214 to 235, which is needed, for example, for bombs and nuclear power stations. And this uranium must always be kept within a certain limit of radiation. Now, it is 15 years ago that suddenly from Africa, a place in Khatun, uranium shipments arrived, which had much higher radiation and a totally different radiation level than what it should have had. As a result, many physicists under the leadership of the UNO went to Khatun, to this particular mine where the uranium came from. What did they find? It's hard to believe. A huge depot of obviously melted uranium elements. The UNO published 2 big books about it. Approximately 100 scientists are involved. They're arguing, how is it possible? In a natural way, the melting of the nucleus is impossible, but still it happened. Officially now it is kept secret. For me, this is rather a clue that a long time ago, perhaps 50 to 100,000 years ago, someone did work with uranium, used it, melted it, and created a depot. One part of the secret knowledge of Atlantis was brought to Egypt. another part to Tibet and India. The first pharaohs were the direct descendants of the Atlanteans. Their secret initiation texts were passed on to the Egyptian royal dynasties. Not surprisingly, Atlantis' high technology led to the building of the pyramids and the Ark of the Covenant. Part of the Brotherhood of Atlantis and its traditions survived in Egypt. The Hermetic mystical knowledge directly emerged from this tradition. Ancient secret drawings and archives from Atlantis were used. Akhenaten, Hermes, Trismegistus, Abraham, Pythagoras, all retained their secret. The Brotherhood of the Snake.
Wzorem do tworzenia perfekcyjnego człowieka I perfekcyjnie funkcjonującej planety.
The symbols of the original pattern to create the ideal human and the perfectly functioning planet is represented by the sign of the Egyptian life key, the Ankhs. All forms of existence, as well as planets in space, arise with this pattern. The components of the pattern are represented by the colour chart. And what is the connection between the colour chart and the Ankh cross? One can imagine that the right arm of the key creates the material, which means the physical body of the human. This substance and its complete condition is built of 7 colours on the colour chart. The program, which is the soul, in its turn, is created from 5 different colours, so that the physical can be complete. This is the soul body, in which there are 5 ultra-minds, the antimaterial chakras. These symbolise the left arm of the key.
Lewe ramię. Podtrzymujące ramię, obydwa te ramiona wagi, są zerem, ale są zerem pełnym, jest to zero pełne życia.
The lower section, which supports the 2 arms, is the zero zone. It is also called spirit or monad, the univalent element. Here the colours that create the matter, as well as the antimatter, are united. Here, all experiences are stored, those of the physical body in the positive arm, as well as those of the soul in the negative arm. These are the areas of energy that occur throughout incarnations. So one can say that the zero zone is pulsing with life. The 4th element, the ring of life keys, represents the consciousness, which harmonises the balance of the scales. The consciousness looks after its tools, that is, the physical body, the soul body and the mind body, and is responsible that none of these bodies destroys itself, independently from its life's experiences. Through this practice, the pattern of the life key stays complete with us. This role of consciousness was indispensable, especially on Earth, because here one constantly tries to change the meaning of the 12 colours. Man has constantly tried to manipulate the laws. This, nevertheless, was the price to pay for universalizing the body.
Żeby zuniwersalizować ciało.
When the Earth descended into the 3rd dimension and the planetary logos, the soul of the Earth entered a new cycle of experience, humans reached the zenith of their polarity consciousness. To this day, the cycle of opposites and the feeling of separation has prevailed. One could say that when Atlantis and its continent sank, the Earth left the 4th and 5th dimensions to enter the realm of the 3-dimensional material structure. With the fall in the 3rd dimension, the remaining human race lost consciousness of the oneness of all things. Polarity awareness took over, and instead of harmony, more and more opposites entered the consciousness and the actions of human beings. Even the elite priesthood was affected, and they dogmatically defended their truths. 2 major brotherhoods arose on Earth, both influenced by Shambhala and Agharta. Together they are called the Brotherhood of the Snake. Shambhala was the seat of the evocation of the Masters of Wisdom. Agharta was the seat of the invocation of the Masters of Wisdom. Together, they embodied the universal polarity of opposites. In the outer world, each brotherhood held the other one to be the Dark Brotherhood, the Black Magicians. The battle between the polarities of the brotherhoods took place over an incredibly long period and reached its peak in the Second World War. The two opposites, the sun, Illuminati, and the moon, Luminari, face each other and struggle for power, yet neither of them can win.